Hey everybody, it's Gary Vaynerchuk for Cork'd.com, and as you know, we're trying to bring you a lot more video and interaction and a lot of the State of the Union kind of stuff. So we're very, very lucky. I'm actually, as you can see, in Sydney. That probably will tell you that I'm here more than anything. Very lucky to be here, and I'm with Nick Stock. Nick, how are you doing?
Very well.
First for all you Jersey heads, how about that? Turn around. I love that. I love that. Nick, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about 2010 vintage.
Yeah, sure. I'm an Australian wine writer and an author. I write this little bad boy here, which is the Penguin Good Australian Wine Guide. And I came up through the sommelier ranks in Australia and then got into writing. I'm one of the younger crew that's writing about wine in Australia, but it's going really well. It's nice to have a book. It's a big statement. 2010 in Australia. So right now we're in April. There's still grapes being picked around the country, but it was an extremely early vintage, and it's been, from all accounts so far, a very good quality vintage right across the country. So from east to west, from head to tail. Winemakers are pretty excited. The yields are in control, and I think we're going to see wines coming from 2010 in Australia that are stamped with typicity. So they're wines that are going to taste like the places they're from. And right across the country there's been a buzz just on the phone, on email, on Twitter, everywhere, with winemakers pressing out red ferments. Everyone's very excited. So it's going to be a good year, not just here or there, but I think right across the board in Australia. So yeah, we're really excited.
What vintage is this most similar to? What are the winemakers or some of the grandfathers of the industry talking about vintage-wise?
That's a conversation that a lot of us have been having, and probably only in the last sort of maybe week to 10 days I've been talking about trying to compare it back with people. And I guess we've been through such a wild ride in the last few years in Australia with maybe the last handful of vintages, that people are sort of scratching their heads and saying, well, hang on, maybe because this is just a normal vintage and stuff looks good, are we thinking, gosh, it's just great relief to see a typical vintage. But I think you have to go back to, say, a year like 2005 to see a year that is this kind of quality. And if you go back 1 year further to 2004, 2004 was a year in which things did show great typicity. The difference being that 2004, everyone got a big surprise with yields. Yields were a little bit up, and that was off the back of the extremely hot 2003. This year, 2010, it's got the typicity of 2004, but nice measured yields, small red berries in the red varieties, nice bunch structure, and wonderful tannins. It's going to be a good year.
And really quick, what's going on domestically? What's happening in the domestic market? What are people drinking right now? I've heard a lot since I've been here about Italian white varietals, Greco and Fiona, and things of that nature. Fiano, excuse me, I don't know why I'm thinking Fiona Ryder. What are you seeing domestically? Is there any shift? Is anything being imported that's making noise? What are people drinking in Australia right now?
Yeah, there's definitely, because the varieties you just mentioned, because of the fact that they're in a warm climate, they can kind of, keep their act together in terms of acid structure and whatnot. There is interest in things like Fiano and Greco. I think the other thing that's happening is back in the traditional white varieties, so talking whites, things like Riesling, we're seeing winemakers go back to the drawing board, find great vineyards, old vineyards, take some inspiration from other places, and start like Austria, like Alsace, a little bit from Germany. So it's not just a game of put some sugar and make a sweet sort of style. But we're seeing, like yesterday I was tasting this Riesling from Great Western from a very old vineyard, which is right down in the southwest of Victoria, and it's like, hang on, what's going on here? So I look at the wine, and it's been fermented in big old wood, so sort of they're putting techniques and inspiration into wines, which I think is becoming really exciting. So there's a lot of messing around with style, and it's a younger generation of winemakers that don't have the baggage of sort of brand and whatnot behind them. They've often come from experience in some of our most famous names, but they're out there kind of blazing a brand new trail in terms of wine style. Pinot's off the chart. It's unbelievable in terms of reds. And the thing that's great about Pinot is you don't have to spend $50, $60, $80 anymore. We're now seeing in Australia, either side of $20 and under, year in, year out, consistent, enjoyable, engaging Pinot, and that's bringing a whole new army of people into drinking Pinot. People that were probably traditionally drinking our bigger, more famous Shiraz, Cabernet sort of red styles, and the Italian reds.
Sangiovese, huh?
Sangiovese is fantastic. It does well. It doesn't mind the warmth. It doesn't mind the dry. So there's some really interesting Sangiovese, and the thing that's good is that people aren't necessarily just trying to sort of go out and make their dream Sangiovese, right off the bat. They're taking some Shiraz from an older vineyard, they're blending them together, they're taking some Cabernet, and what that does, it gives these wines an instant sense of typicity and a sense of place and a sense of belonging somewhere.
It gives it some time to kind of mature into itself.
Yeah, exactly, and it also gives people who are, Sangiovese is still new for a lot of people in Australia and right around the world, so it gives them a little bit of something familiar and a little bit of something new. It's kind of bridging it together.
Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, man.